Welcome to My Perspective. I'm Brent Haggerty. Today, I want to talk to pastors, leaders, but especially those who are truly committed to growing others in Christ about a key discipleship principle, what I call the principle of perpetuity. I think we often hear people talk about legacy. We wonder what kind of mark we're leaving, what stories will be told after we're gone. But for those of us walking the path of Christ and leading others to do the same, this idea of legacy is more than a nameplate on a wall. It's more than memories that people are going to carry. I think perpetuity in the disciple-making journey means this. What you build in someone else's life continues long after you're no longer the one leading it. Let me take you to two scriptures that I think beautifully illustrate this principle. First, we find it in the words of Jesus, the book of Matthew, chapter 28. Go, he said, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I commanded you. He didn't say gather followers or build a ministry platform. He said make disciples. That's generational, my friend. That's long-term. That's perpetuity. Apostle Paul picks up the baton in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2, when he says to the young pastor, Timothy, what you've heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. That's 4 generations in one verse. It's Paul to Timothy, to faithful men, to others. That's the kind of gospel perpetuity that transforms not just churches, but entire cultures. So let me ask you, pastor, leader, disciple maker, what remains when you're no longer in the room? Leadership expert John Maxwell calls this the law of legacy. He says the leader's lasting value is measured by succession. I suggest to you that the disciple maker's lasting succession is the disciples and the generations of disciples he leaves behind. I think that aligns with how Moses lived. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, Moses passes the torch to Joshua. He's not grasping for attention. He's not clinging for power. His eyes are on the next generation, on the ensuring of the mission that God wanted to move forward, even if his own name faded away into the background. And the same is true in family discipleship. Paul writes to Timothy again in the second letter, and he says, in chapter 1, verse 5, acknowledging the sincere faith that first lived in his grandmother Lois and in his mother Eunice, that's spiritual perpetuity in the home, a multi-generational ripple that began with one woman's faith. So how do we live into this principle? Let's go back to Maxwell for a second. I love the guy. He's a great, great writer and a great leader. He outlines 4 dimensions of legacy in his book. I think they apply in the book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, to this law of or principle of perpetuity in disciple making. I believe all 4 apply directly. So, personal legacy. The life you live becomes the pattern others follow. Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. You see, our spiritual habits, our faith, and our humility, they're shaping someone, even if we don't realize it. Then there's, secondly, a professional legacy. Are you developing leaders or just leading followers? Are you building structures and cultures that can survive without you? That is the true sign of healthy discipleship infrastructure. Thirdly, there's family legacy. I think we find a great example of that in the book of Psalms, chapter 78, which says, we will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord. My friend, your kids don't need a perfect parent. They need a present, prayerful parent. Tell the stories of God's faithfulness. Sing his praises. Pray out loud. Let the generations see you walk and make sure that they see you apologize. Lastly, there's a kingdom legacy. This one goes beyond any church program. This is about eternity. The disciple you mentor today may plant a church in 10 years from now, raise up missionaries, or minister in places you'll never ever visit. That's the ripple effect of spiritual perpetuity. One final thought before we close. Hey, you know what? We cannot claim to be disciples of Jesus and not be investing in others. It's just sheer disobedience. We must think generationally. We must build relationally. We must lead with eternity in view. So I leave you with this question. Are you discipling someone, anyone who will disciple someone else? That's the measure of perpetuity. That's the heartbeat of the Great Commission. And that, my friend, is a legacy worth living. My name's Brent Haggerty. This is my perspective. What is yours?